Welcome back. Taking a full look at weather now. Weather Authority Chief Meteorologist Dan Cianca. Dan, you were busy earlier tracking thunderstorms and lightning.
Yes. So, last week we were talking about the lightning threat at the end of the week, which didn't materialize for us, thank goodness. Today was a little different story. We had quite a bit of lightning across San Benito County today. In fact, 284 total strikes. Many of those were intra-cloud lightning. This graphic put up by the National Weather Service just kind of summarizing the lightning strikes out there. 59 separate cloud-to-ground bolts across mostly San Benito County this afternoon. So the good news is a lot of these lightning strikes were co-located with precipitation, meaning it was raining where the lightning struck at that time or very close by. A few of them were a little bit outside of those precipitation shafts though. So oftentimes the positive strikes here, that's why they're kind of shown separately. They can be stronger and also sometimes outside of the precipitation shield because a cloud is typically charged positively at the top and negatively at the bottom. So these positive strikes sometimes come out of the top of the cloud and then strike the ground outside of the precipitation core, whereas the negative strikes occur usually within the precipitation. So folks in southern San Benito County, I want to reiterate this, actually central and southern San Benito County, I want to reiterate this. Tomorrow, once the afternoon winds pick up, you may see some smoke in some areas. There may be trees that were struck today that are just smoldering a little bit tonight. Once that wind picks up tomorrow, next thing you know, you're blowing on these things. You're blowing on these flames, etc. So please be vigilant out there tomorrow. We are going to be watching satellite. We're going to be watching webcams. The powers that be, CAL FIRE, etc. We'll be doing the same things and keeping an eye on all these areas that did see the lightning. Hopefully, we don't see any issues, but it's possible we may. So just stay aware. Here was a view of some of those storms today. This was from just north of Salinas. We were getting right back into town from Los Angeles this morning. I'll tell you a little about that later in the week when the weather's a little calmer. An old KION friend got married this weekend. We'll share some pictures from that. It was a lot of fun. But right back into town to some thunderstorms over the peaks today. It was an interesting day. Nice and hot in Bradley, 105. Beautiful day around the bay. We had a few low clouds, but most areas were in the 70s. It was a really nice one this afternoon. And out there tonight, temperatures are still pretty mild, upper 50s to low 60s. Still a little bit warm up in the hills. There is a thermal layer above us that is keeping us nice and warm. Below that, we have our marine layer, which has been a little bit foggy. Here's a live look from Domenico. So you can see the low clouds reflecting the city lights there in Monterey tonight. And the clouds have filled the bay, pushing through Salinas and working their way up the Salinas Valley. And it's a little bit sticky out there tonight with those low clouds. Now, the bigger picture shows a couple of features. Monsoonal high pumping in moisture across the desert southwest. We do have this big dry slot as well across southern California. And of course, this subtropical low, or if you will, maybe not even subtropical low, just a cutoff area of low pressure sitting offshore that was drawing some of that monsoonal moisture. And that's going to stay with us here for the next several days. So at the moment, locally, we're seeing some dry air pulled in. Now, that doesn't mean we can't see a thunderstorm tomorrow, but it just makes them less likely. But the overall pattern isn't going to change all that much. We're still going to see some moisture wrapping around, and then maybe do some interesting things later in the week, which we'll talk about in a moment. In the meantime, low clouds, fog, that's what most of us will wake up to tomorrow morning around the bay. Model isn't handling the low clouds all that well, but if you live around the bay, you're going to wake up to clouds and maybe a little bit of fog tomorrow morning. The clouds will retreat to the coast like they did today, again tomorrow, and we will see some bubbly clouds over the hills. Model is showing a few of those, and there's about a 10% chance we get another shower or thunderstorm. It won't have as much energy to use tomorrow, though, so the severe threat will be a little bit lower. If something actually develops, it's a low probability event, but there is a chance, have to mention that. It's not going to affect us around the Monterey Bay. This is mostly up in our inland areas, up in the mountains. In the meantime, tomorrow evening, I should say, the low clouds will fill back in around the bay, just like they did tonight. It should be a pretty similar day. However, the air mass warms up a little bit, about 3 degrees overall aloft. So that is going to warm up our inland areas and mountain areas, especially on the coast. We may see a little bump, degree or two, but up in the hills, that's where it gets toasty. 93 up in Boulder Creek tomorrow. 85 in Bonnie Doon after a low of 72. We top out at 71 in Santa Cruz, 69 in Capitola. On the east shore of the bay, we'll see high temperatures mostly in the 60s to mid 70s there in Watsonville, Salinas. 91 in Hollister, upper 90s in the Santa Clara Valley. Monterey Peninsula, nice tomorrow. We're looking at temperatures in the mid 60s to maybe even low 70s. Monterey, a repeat performance in the 70s tomorrow rather, sounds pretty nice, right? And then down south, 80s in those near coastal valleys. We'll get to 90 in Greenfield, and Yeah, we have some hot spots down there, certainly. Bradley, 107 tomorrow. So let's talk about that 7-day forecast. On the coast, I've got us dry for most of the week. We'll have maybe a little drizzle out of the low clouds, but I'm watching Friday. That has there's the best signal in the model for moisture reaching the coast, but I don't think we're going to have any major issues. We might see a few light showers, kind of like we saw this morning in a few areas. We'll watch that for you. In the meantime, I do expect cooler weather on the coast into the weekend. Inland areas, I have isolated storms over the mountains for the next couple of days. That would be mainly in San Benito County, basically where we saw them today. We're watching Friday. It looks a little bit more interesting, and then cooler weather expected this weekend. Back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Dan.